And this is the story of Thomas Edward Silverstein.
Thomas Edward Silverstein.
Thomas Edward Silverstein was an American criminal who spent 42 years in prison, including 36 years in solitary confinement. He is the longest held solitary prisoner in U.S. history.
Good God.
He originally was incarcerated for armed robbery. He was convicted of four murders while behind bars, though one of those convictions was later overturned. His most infamous crime was the 1983 murder of correctional officer Merle Klutz at the United States Penitentiary in Marion, Illinois. Authorities described him as a brutal killer and a leader of the Aryan Brotherhood's prison gang. Silverstein, however, argued that the harsh and dehumanizing conditions of the prison
Whoa, 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 whoa,
system.
whoa, 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 whoa.
Yes, yes,
He's the leader of the Aryan Brotherhood,
yes,
and his last name is
yeah,
Silverstein.
yeah. That didn't fall short on me either.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, I'm with you. Please continue.
Silverstein, however, argued that the harsh and dehumanizing conditions of the prison system contributed to the murders he committed. Due to the severity of his crimes, correctional officers refused to speak to him as a sign of respect for Clutt. He was born in Long Beach, California, raised by his mother, Virginia Conway. While she was pregnant with him, she divorced her first husband and later married Sid Silverstein, who legally adopted him. As a child, Silverstein was shy, awkward, and frequently bullied, partly due to the mistaken belief that he was Jewish. So there you go. He was not, but yes, the name should have triggered somebody, but I guess maybe he convinced him he wasn't. His mother encouraged him to fight back, warning him that if he returned home crying after being beaten, she would punish him herself. She once spotted a bully named Gary walking home from school, and so she dragged him to their backyard and forced Silverstein to beat him. Silverstein stated, quote, "That's how my mom was. She stood her mud. If someone came at you with a bat, you got your bat and you both went at it." On Gary, he said, quote, "I took one look at my mom and her black belt, and I took one look at Gary, and there wasn't any choice at all. I smacked him in the face as hard as I could." His mother had unwittingly unleashed a cycle of violence that would never end, as Gary's father spotted Silverstein the next day and dragged him into his house for Gary to respond in kind. Enraged, Virginia drove over there and threw bricks through the window, teaching her son that two wrongs make a right. So this
God
would hard,
damn.
yeah, this would harden
Those
his
motherfuckers go hard.
this would harden his perspective on violence. At 14, he was sent to a Californian Youth Authority reformatory where he said that he learned that refusing to fight made one a target for abuse. While he was sentenced to the Youth Authority Reform School, he recalled learning nothing but violently standing his ground. He said, quote, "I hated authority just like I hated bullies." Once he was released, he started using heroin.
Girl.
By 19, he was incarcerated at San Quentin prison for armed robbery. He was released 4 years later, but soon reoffended, committing three additional armed robberies alongside his father, Thomas Conway, and cousin Gerald Hoff. Their crimes netted them less than $11,000, equivalent to about $85,000 today. In 1977, he was sentenced to 15 years and sent to the United States Penitentiary in Leavenworth, Kansas. While at Leavenworth, he became affiliated with the Aryan Brotherhood, who is a violent white supremacist prison gang, as we had talked earlier. In 1980, he was convicted of murdering fellow inmate Danny Atwell, who had reportedly refused to serve as a drug mule. As a result, Silverstein received a life sentence and was transferred to USP Marion, which is a high security prison. However, his conviction for Atwell's murder was overturned in 85 after it was revealed that a key witness had lied under oath. While at Marion, Silverstein was housed in the control unit, which is a section designed for prisoners considered high extreme security risk. He was under constant surveillance, lived in near total isolation with a ceiling light that remained on at all times, only two phone calls a month, and his meals were delivered through a slot. In 1981, he was accused of murdering Robert Chappelle, who was a member of the DC Blacks prison gang and was convicted along with fellow inmate Clayton Fountain. He did receive another life sentence, but he avoided the death penalty since the federal capital punishment had not yet been reinstated. He insisted that he was innocent of Chappelle's murder. While he was on trial for Chappelle's killing, prison officials transferred Raymond Lee Cadillac Smith, who was the leader of the DC Blacks gang, into the same unit as Silverstein. From the moment Smith arrived, he reportedly plotted to kill Silverstein. Silverstein claimed that he tried to explain he had not killed Chappelle, but Smith refused to believe him and vowed revenge. Silverstein later stated that prison officials did nothing to separate them, even though it was clear that violence was imminent.
Why
Uh,
would they
he,
transfer him in there? Why,
I,
unless they
I
wanted them to
I
fight?
don't know, and maybe it was. I didn't get that, so I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
this
bet
does
that's
seem
why.
very targeted. This
Yeah.
does seem very targeted. He said, quote, I tried to tell Cadillac that I didn't kill Chappelle, but he didn't believe me and he bragged that he was going to kill me. Everyone knew what was going on and no one did anything to keep us apart. The guards wanted one of us to kill the other. In response, Silverstein and Fountain preemptively attacked Smith, stabbing him 67 times with improvised weapons. They then dragged his body along the cell block for other inmates to see, and this brutal murder earned Silverstein yet another life sentence. On October 22nd, 1983, he carried out his most notorious act, the killing of Officer Merrill Klutz. Officer Klutz was assigned to help bring order to the cell block where Silverstein and Fountain were being housed. Silverstein claims Klutz immediately began harassing him, but investigation by the Federal Bureau of Prisons and FBI would later clear Klutz of any wrongdoings. Silverstein became obsessed with Klutz and spent months plotting his murder. While being escorted to the shower, Silverstein tricked Klutz into walking ahead of him. He then stopped outside another inmate's cell where an accomplice, Randy Gomez, handed him a homemade knife and unlocked his handcuffs with a smuggled key. Silverstein then launched a frenzied attack on Klutz, stabbing him multiple times. He later claimed that Klutz had harassed him for years, including destroying his paintings. F FYI, Federal Bureau of Prisons forbids paintings that depict murder, which is what Silverstein had.
Hmm.
Um, but a few hours later, Clayton Fountain used the same tactic to kill another correctional officer, Robert Hoffman. So the murder of Klutz and Hoffman led to the indefinite lockdown at USP Marion, which remained in place for 23 years. Lockdown. As a direct response to these killings, the federal government designed and built USP Florence AdMax, which is a supermax prison in Colorado, intended to house the most dangerous inmates. Silverstein was initially transferred to USP Atlanta, where he was placed under a no human contact status, the most extreme level of solitary confinement. He was confined to a cell that was 6 foot by 7 foot. Do you imagine?
6 by 7.
6 by
Yeah.
7. Fountain ended up dying in 2004 at the United States Medical Center for Federal Prisoners in Springfield, Missouri. During the 1987 Atlanta prison riots, Cuban detainees took control of the facility and released Silverstein from his isolation cell. Authorities feared he would start killing correctional officers taken hostage. He ultimately spared at least one guard who had treated him humanely. Then, as part of the negotiations, the Cuban rioters handed Silverstein over to the FBI's hostage rescue team, and he was then moved to Leavenworth, where he remained for 18 years before being transferred to ADX Florence in 2005. Silverstein argued that the Bureau of Prisons' decision to keep him in permanent isolation was an excessive form of punishment meant to serve as a warning to other inmates. A Bureau of Prisons official told author Pete Early, quote, when an inmate kills a guard, he must be punished. We can't execute Silverstein, so we have no choice but to make his life a living hell. Otherwise, other inmates would kill guards too. There has to be some supreme punishment. Every convict knows what Silverstein is going through. We want them to realize that if they cross the same line he did, they will pay a heavy price. Some former inmates, like Ted Sellers, believed Silverstein was not as dangerous as portrayed, arguing that some prison guards deliberately provoked violent incidents. Pete Sellers told BBC Online, quote, he is not as bad as they portray. Sure, he is dangerous if they push him to the wall, but there were some dirty, rotten guards at Marion. They would purposely screw you around. You are dealing with a person locked up 23 hours a day. Of course, he's got a short fuse. Silverstein died on May 11th, 2019, at age 67 at St. Anthony Hospital in Lakewood, Colorado, after spending 36 years in solitary confinement. He died due to complications from heart surgery. His decades in isolation, his involvement in extreme prison violence made him one of the most infamous figures in the history of the U.S. federal prison system. His life remains a stark example of the brutal realities of maximum security incarceration. His brief time at St. Anthony's Hospital in Denver was his first reprieve from total isolation since the early 1980s. He wrote in his memoir, however, before he died on May 11th, 2019, that it may have been a relief. He said, quote, drip, drip, drip. The minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years constantly drip away with no end or relief in sight. In his later years, he did express regret over Klutz's murder. He became a relentless critic of the Bureau of Prisons and its reliance on solitary confinement, which in his case stretched over decades, during which he avoided all conflict with staff or disciplinary infractions. He told Westworld in 2007, quote, the BOP shrinks, chalk it up to me as being so isolated I haven't anyone to fight with, but they're totally oblivious to all the petty BS I could go off on if I chose to. I just have more self-control now after 25 years of yoga, meditation, studying Buddhism, and taking some anger management courses. All that goes unacknowledged. And that is the story of Thomas Edward Silverstein.
Good God.
Yeah, yeah. I
What
thought I
it's like it's almost like, okay, we got this guy who's an armed robber, who's kind of a fuck up. We're gonna put him in jail and turn him into a murderer. That's what they
yeah,
did.
that's kind of how I see it. I mean,
I,
because
I
yeah,
am I missing something here?
no, I
Why do
agree
we
with you.
make this dude a murderer?
Yeah,
He
I
wasn't a
agree with you.
murderer when he went in.
I agree. I think they made him a murderer. So yeah, I don't know. That's I felt that was a very interesting story. Especially I couldn't imagine 36 years in solitary confinement. Could not imagine. That is just phenomenal to me.
Six
Wild.
by seven.
Yep. Yep. All right. That will take us to the end of recording week and our 3 episode spectacular over Power Ballads and
Our ballots.
three murders.
Three murders.
Hope you all enjoyed it. Please let us know. Let us know ones that you thought we missed. If there's ones that you felt we should have covered, because I mean, we of course didn't hit all the Power Ballads.
Oh God, no.
There's definitely way more out there, but we kind of stuck with
When
what
I
we
see you
thought.
smile, my bad English.
Well, we thought with we stayed with what we thought most represented
Yeah.
Power Ballads more than anything else. So give it a listen to. Let us know what you think. If there are musical genres, artists, anything like that that you wish for us to cover, please do let us know. You can email us.
Hmm.
You can find our email address on nerderymerdy.com, our hub for everything about us. You'll find links to this episode, pictures, but our email address is there as well. We have an episode coming up in, I think, 12 episodes that someone I know down here in the Valley recommended to us, gave the list to Zig, and he's just fallen in love with this list then. So
Oh yeah.
that'll be coming up in about 12 weeks.
Yeah, about 12 weeks.
So give us a listen. Let us know what you're interested in. We're happy to cover that. But you can also find our playlist on our website again. That link out to or the link to our YouTube site where our playlists are, where Zig so often updates.
Yes, please go listen. Please. Please listen.
Please do listen to that. You can also find the link to our merchandise page, or if you wish to show off your nerdery murdery fandom, please do consider something from there. You'll also find the link to our Patreon page. Our patrons, along with the people who purchase our merchandise, that go to the costs that are associated with this show. There are costs that are associated with keeping us on the air, our storage, our website, our uploads, everything like that. This show is not free, and it does take a lot for us to bring this entertainment to you week in and week out. So we do appreciate each and every one of you.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. Please don't forget to leave a 5-star review wherever you can. It is free. It takes only a couple of minutes and can really help us and help others find our topics for the information that we discuss. And last but very not least, Chuck, it's time to go to sleep.
Good night, Chuck. Good night,
Good night,
Cookie.
Chuck. Good night, Cookie. With that,
I have been Zig with your nerdery.
and I'm Jeffrey with your murdering.
Cue the music.